staying in the country, so saving our money, spending it local. That's what we wanted to do. Pretty much everything, staying in Vancouver, BC, Victoria, pretty much everything. We didn't want to go outside the country at all.
Some new numbers suggest that a lot of Canadians are making good on those social media posts promising not to visit the United States in the wake of tariff threats. Land border crossings from Canada into the U.S. have hit COVID-era lows. That's according to data released by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Sarah is back with more on this.
Yeah, so U.S. Customs Border Protection, they're tracking cars that are coming from Canada into the United States. Not saying that these are all necessarily Canadian drivers. Could be Americans making a round trip. Could be someone coming from another country and crossing the border. But, for the vast majority, it would be Canadians who are crossing into the United States. And those numbers are, very low for February 2025 compared to what they were for February 2024. So year over year, that particular month, we're looking at almost 500,000 fewer land crossings. We haven't seen numbers this low since COVID times. And remember, in COVID times, those low border crossings were due, at least in part, to restrictions on who exactly was allowed to cross the border, and then some onerous restrictions on what you could do once you made it back into Canada, and how much time you had to spend alone, and testing that you had to do. So there were other reasons for it. So why are the reasons now that Canadians potentially are not making as many land crossings? Well, it does coincide, of course, Ian, with the comments we've heard from Donald Trump about 51st state and the tariff threats. And we have seen, certainly online, as you mentioned, a number of people saying, hey, I'm not going to do it anymore. But now we actually have these tangible numbers coming from the border agency saying, listen, we are seeing a lot fewer crossings.
Yeah, and the dollar is soft right now, but not really so different than it was, let's say, a couple of months ago.
Well, and and let me just say to that, so October, November, December, and January, the numbers were actually going quite high. And the dollar wasn't particularly high at that point, but the dollar could play a part.
Yeah.